Another video. Welcome, stranger. What? Canonet QL17. I was in looking at the camera and I noticed the adjustments on the rangefinder, and I decided that would be a good topic to talk about. It's either a classroom or a DIY. I haven't decided yet which. The adjustments, there's only two screws, pretty simple. For lining up the two images in the rangefinder, and that's what we're going to be looking at. So let's get started. Okay, we're down to my last clip for the day. Hopefully my voice will hold out through the session. It's getting a little bit rough. The rangefinder on a camera must seem a little bit archaic. Easy to explain, but people might wonder, well, why? Why did they have to make it so complicated? Lose a little air there to clean it up. It's sitting around the desk. Okay, where to start? The cover here. Here's the window you look through. This is your main window. This little square window over here is called a target. And of course you will be looking through this glass viewfinder right here. And you'll be looking out of this main window at your subject, but also superimposed on the beam splitter will be a yellow dot or a square dot. I don't know if this camera has square or round. I didn't look through it or took it apart, but the another image of it will come in here. And I always outside my office I have telephone poles, and that's what I focus on. And the telephone pole will come through this window here to my eye, but the telephone pole also will come through here, not all of it, just a section of it in the center. And that's the part that will be colored yellow. And the idea is there'll be two, if it's out of focus, well, let's see, not out of focus. Let's say it's set at infinity. You always set the shutter. I told you to get in the end of the day. You set the parallax viewfinder at infinity. So you set your camera lens on infinity, and there should, if you look through the camera, you should just see one telephone pole. It should, at this part here, it will be, the colors will be proper, but there should be a yellow dot, or in this case maybe a yellow square in the center, and they should overlap perfectly. That's what you want. But that's not what a lot of you are gonna go into the camera for, because yours is not lined up perfectly, and you need to adjust it. And that's kind of what I'm here to show you. Move that out of the way. Grab the lens here and try not to touch something to bend something. Like up in here, if I touch that, I'll bend something. Your focus lever is right here as you're focusing your camera. And as you're focusing, I'm going to see here if I can, need to get the light on it, maybe better. There we go. As you're, wow, hand shaking, put it there. As you can see, I'm organized. See how it's moving out towards you. When I go the other direction, it's going in like so. Well, as it goes in and out, I didn't look at it when I was taking it apart. Not really that important, but I think right here, see this little tab here presses against the viewfinder and is what is setting everything in focus. In other words, it's lining up the yellow dot with the main window where they overlap perfectly. Here's the infinity mark. You want to line it up with this infinity mark right here. The yellow, that's infinity. So the mark on the top cover would be right there. So you get those two lined up, and then the camera's set for infinity, or in the distance. And when you do this right here, this tab that comes in, is also in the right position to overlap the two images in your viewfinder perfectly. So remember that when you're taking the camera apart and putting it together, that to get the parallax viewfinder where the images are overlapping perfectly, this has to be, infinity mark has to be at that point. And this right here will be pushing inward. In other words, if it's out, I know I'm messing this all up, but anyway, if it's like that way, it's not going to be in the right position for your images to overlap. It has to be like so, all the way in. Okay, now I'll get to the part that I was trying to explain. This stud right here is what it presses against. And if you look up here, that little lens right there will move left and right. Let's pretend this is the focus. This is the lens. Watch. See that little lens move back and forth? That's what you're adjusting right now. Or when you do focus, you're adjusting that little lens. Move that down so it doesn't... Okay, so your target comes in here and hits right there. Then it goes through this little lens right here. Then it goes through this big lens right here. And then finally, destination, this side of the beam splitter, this side is yellow. So when you look through it to take your picture, you're looking through this window here, you're looking through the beam splitter, and you're looking through this front element, which I'm not touching. There it is. So as you're looking through here, you're looking at the image from two different points. You're looking through to here, where your target goes through and hits this mirror. It's not yellow yet, it's still clear, or properly, the colors are all proper. And it goes through here, colors are still properly, through here, and when it hits the mirror here, that's when it's yellow. And of course, when you're looking through here at the main window, it's all clear and properly, the colors are all proper. But with this system here, there will be a yellow dot or a square in the center, and you want to get those two lined up. Let's say that the lens is mounted on the camera. You've just taken the top cover off and they're not quite lined up. What do? Well, I'm going to put my finger down here, see if I can find that. Yeah, there it is right there. And I'm going to push back right there. You see that screw right there? That's a cam, not a screw. And it has a little bit of friction, so it can't move. So what you would do is you would stick your slot of your screwdriver down there, and you wouldn't move it much, because if it is off a little bit, it's only going to be a fraction of an inch, because you may not be able to see it counting on where it's at in this hole here. But let's say if I went counterclockwise an eighth of a turn, not much, just an eighth or a 16th, and then I'd go back outside, look at my telephone pole to see if it was lined up. Then I'd go back into the shop again, and maybe I overshot or went the wrong direction. Then I'd go an eighth of an inch clockwise or 16th. And if that didn't quite get it, if it was closer but not on it, I would go again clockwise, an eighth or a 16th, and keep going back and forth. In my shop before, going in and out, it's troublesome, but I usually get it within about 5 or 6 trips. In other words, counting on how perfect I want it to be. Customer sends in the camera and say, well, my two images are not lined up. That's what I've got to do. I got to pull the top cover off, and I got to go in and out of the shop and adjust the screw right here. And that will get the two images overlapping. Okay, here's that famous telephone pole I was telling you about. It's behind my shop in the alley. And that's what I use to set the focus on rangefinders. No special machine, just that telephone pole right there. And I don't use it for anything else. But when I need to set the focus on a rangefinder, I have to step outside, look at it, and decide what's wrong, and then go back in the shop, make an adjustment, and then come back out and do it over and over again, up to 5-6 times until I finally get it to where I just see this right here. In other words, it's nice and sharp all the way around. When it's not sharp, it looks like this right here. Look up here. You can see double images all over the place. You can see both the horizontal and vertical double images. On the horizontal, you can see right here. There's your ghost image. Here's the real telephone pole here. And you need to get those lined up to where you just see one. Same way up here on the lines. There should just be 2 lines, but in the picture there's 4. And the dark line is the real line, and the faded one is the double image, the fake. And you got to get those on top of each other to where they're sharp. And that's why telephone poles work so well, is because it takes care of the vertical and the horizontal. You can see clearly which is which. And this right here, you kind of move it up at an angle here, both of them when you're adjusting, to where you have one up here, just one telephone pole showing. See right here, it's faded, double image. It's not a perfect representation. If you were looking through your camera and doing all this, for one thing, you would just only have the targets. In other words, the square target right here is all you would see. The rest of it the image would look normal. Only the target shows the double image. Same way up here with your wires. When you point up here, you're going to see yellow, and only the target's going to have the double image. The rest of the image, when you look through it, will look just sharp. So anyway, that's how you do it. You work on the vertical, you work on the horizontal till they all overlap and make one object. So now when they do overlap, there are only, it's set for, get it back up here, it's set for infinity, not 15 feet or 10 feet or 6 feet. It's set for infinity. And that's the only adjustment you've got. In other words, if you set it for infinity and the images overlap perfectly, and the way this should be, it's at focus infinity. But if you were to set it for 15 feet or 10 feet or 7 feet or 5 feet, looks like the lowest it'll go is 2.6, is as close as you can go with this lens. These will all be at the proper distance. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that if you moved in and you were about 10 feet from your subject, let's say a girlfriend, her face, and you focused and it's at 10 feet, if you line up the 2 images of her face, like she has 2 noses, and you line them up so she's got 1 nose, the camera will be in focus for her face. That's, in other words, you just have to trust it that once you get this in focus, everything else will be in focus at the proper distance. There's no second adjustment is what I'm trying to say. There's no adjustment for like infinity, 10 feet, 5 foot, 3. No, it doesn't work that way. You get one shot at it. The exposure has to, not exposure, I'm sorry. Getting late here. The focus, you focus infinity on a telephone pole somewhere in the distance, and when you do, the others will fall in line where they should be. This camera doesn't have a lot of trouble with focus because it's usually these rangefinders are kind of wide angle, and the lenses are constructed in such a way that they have a lot of play or a lot of forgiveness on focus. In other words, if your girlfriend were, if the camera said she was 10 feet away, and let's say she was 11 or 9, the picture would still be in focus, is what I'm trying to say. Kind of like a GoPro camera, which has no focus at all, but does a great job. Cameras that have a wide-angle lenses are very forgiving in that way. They don't have to be exactly in focus, like a telephoto does. Telephoto has to be on the money. But when you get into wide-angle lenses, they don't have to be exactly on the money as far as focusing the camera to get a good picture. So, I don't know. Was that all clear? Did you get all that? You're looking through your camera. You just bought it off eBay. And when you look through, when you set your camera at infinity and you're looking at a telephone pole, you see they don't quite overlap. They don't, or whatever you're looking at. I use telephone poles because the contrast works pretty good. And you need to adjust it. Then you've got to take the top cover off. You got to come in here and adjust that screw a little bit clockwise or counterclockwise. Not much. There's no point in cranking it a half a turn or a quarter of a turn. That's way too much. Just touch it a little bit, go one way or the other. You'll see immediately next time you go outside, if you went the right direction, you may dead. I've hit them dead on the first time, and sometimes I went the wrong direction, and then I had to correct, go back, and do it again. But that does not screw out. That's a cam. If you understand what a cam is, it swivels left and right. It does not screw out. So that's pretty much it as far as adjusting it. By the way, there's a plate over here, and I'm going to reach over here and grab it. That is on top. It's held on by glue. You'll have to remove it. Just get a knife or something and pop it off. Don't be careful around these, like this mirror here. You'll chip it. The lenses are a little bit tougher, but you don't want to mess up your mirror. And if you're messing around and like me, and you get your fingers on something, well, clean the mirror and clean your lenses while you're in here, and blow it out with some air before you put your top cover back on. I would warn you on this beam splitter, if I were you, I would not clean it. And you would say, well, why not? Because as these beam splitters get old, the whatever the coating they put on them will rub off, even with cotton. I've seen it come off, so I stopped cleaning these. I'll clean the front mirror or lens, and I'll clean this lens. I'll clean the mirror, but usually I leave these alone. I probably should, but I don't, because in the past I've cleaned these and all the white coating came off. White coating, sorry, like I said, it's getting late. The yellow coating on this particular piece of glass came off, and then the camera was useless. I had to find another one of these and install it. So just a warning there about that. Of course, you can try, or maybe you just want to clean this one side on this side here and not clean this side. You can do that also if you want to, if you're sure of yourself. But just thought I'd warn you. Okay, I'm kind of rambling. That's pretty much it. See, they're moving it back and forth there. The Minolta had the very same system, kind of, except that, as I remember, it moved the beam splitter with its adjustment. It had two screws right down in here, and this one just has one screw. Why two screws? One is for up and down, one is for left and right. So if you've Your better cameras have 2 screws in them. This one right here just has a left and right adjustment, no up and down. Although, I shouldn't even tell you this, but you can adjust the also with the screw here, and it pushes the mirror forward and backward for up and down. But you can get in trouble real quick because this screw sometimes will break off. Sometimes you won't get it in the right place. I've just had trouble with these before, and I've learned just to leave them alone. They're set at factory, and they shouldn't need any adjustment as far as up or down. What would you use for up and down? The wires hanging from the telephone poles. I find them that are pretty wide and they're dark, and if the up and down is not perfect, overlapping, you'll see 2 cables up when you point at the cables on the telephone pole, and you have to adjust. In this case, you adjust the screw here. You'd move your mirror this way or tilt it back, and until you get 1 cable when you're looking through your viewfinder. And I probably shouldn't have told you that, because this is meant to be adjusted real often, or as often as needed, and you can't damage the camera adjusting it, but you can damage the camera adjusting this. These are usually, they're sealed, and sometimes when you try to turn it, the little tips here, one side of it will break off. And if it breaks off and this is not in focus, then you're in a world of trouble. Okay, I better stop here. Sometimes when I'm trying to teach something, I motor mouth on and on. Okay, there we go. Here we go, your viewfinder. If you need to adjust it, I just showed you how, and I showed you how it works. I'll stop here. Okay, that's it. That's put in this outro and put it in the can, and then I've got to go to my Vegas Pro and edit it and see how small I can make this video, since it's pretty simple. Anybody that wants to adjust the viewfinder on the rangefinder on their Canonet, this little video should give them a heads up and explain to them how to do it. That one adjustment for the horizontal is really all you need to mess with. That vertical adjustment there, I kind of hated to show you, but I was afraid that somebody might try to adjust it, and I just don't suggest it. Normally, the vertical is nearly dead on. If it's off just a hair, it's not going to hurt anything. It's the horizontal, that's the important one. And that little screw that is pushing against the mirror is kind of a crude adjustment. What am I trying to say here? It's sealed. I usually, in the past, I have used acetone and worked the little screw loose and have adjusted that vertical, but I don't suggest it, because also in the past I've had those little screws snap off because they don't have much strength in the back, and when you insert the screwdriver into it and turn it, quite often they break, and if they break off, well, then it's just over. There's nothing you can do besides just put a new bracket in it, I guess. I don't know in the past what I did, but I probably just bolted in a new bracket and went from there. But make your adjustment with the horizontal. That is made for it. Now, I had a Himatic a few weeks ago, a Minolta Himatic, and it had adjustments for both the vertical and the horizontal. Not like the one here on the Canonet. They were made actually to be adjusted. This Canonet thing is more of a, they set it at the factory once, and it's do it once and forget it for life. And the beam splitter, that coating, that yellow coating on the beam splitter in there is, it's been 40 years, and that coating is started, it's not coming off the glass yet. but it will if you rub it with cotton or something. So on those beam splitters now, I just leave them alone. I haven't found a good way to clean them. There may be one, but I haven't found one yet. And so I clean all the other lenses, but not the beam splitter. If you want to chance it, why, go right ahead, but I'm going to just leave them alone. And I'm motor mouthing here now. We need to round it up here. So later.